Ladies and gentlemen, if you direct your attention to our seminar area, you will see a history-making, earth-shaking, nad-rattling, ovary-rocking seminar about the Deeproot scandal, the ins, the outs, the what-have-yous, and there will be awesome T-shirts if you are in attendance during this seminar. So I encourage you all to come and see the pride of New York City, the worst of all possible worlds podcast. Welcome.
Hi. Hey, what's up? How's it going, everybody? We see you over in the tournament area. We hope you're having a great time. We're having a great time because we get to do a podcast.
Yeah, this is what we do for enjoyment.
That's right. And we hope
real sick people.
And we hope you enjoy what you're about to experience today. And yeah, this is we generally start our show because we are not actually a pinball podcast first and foremost.
No.
We are a podcast where we do weekly case studies in the pop culture of a dying empire.
And there's no empire more dying than that of, well, what's on our T-shirts.
That's right.
Deeproot Pinball, the greatest empire, the rise and fall, the ancient Rome of the modern day.
That's right. And
imagine if Rome started with just Caligula.
And so we here as the Empire Destroyers have put together a nice little show for you.
Yeah.
And also, in about a half hour, we're going to be bringing a very special guest who's got a lot of cool new information to share about Deeproot Pinball. So,
yeah.
Are you all ready?
All right.
I can't hear you. I said, are you all ready? That's right, you are. Let's get into it. So, we're going to get started today.
Introduce yourself.
Oh yeah, we should intro ourselves.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Welcome to the worst of all possible worlds, the first and only podcast. No, it's the first one. It's the first and only no one's ever done this.
That's right.
And no one ever will because they're going to see what this is like and opt out.
We're doing great so far. I'm the worst of all possible Joshes.
And I am the worst of all possible Brians.
And what I'd like to start off with today is recapping a little bit about this company, Deeproot Pinball. You hear about these guys?
I never have, no.
You hear about this guy?
Nope, can't say as I have.
Okay, well, this guy's name is John Popaduke, I guess.
Okay, so this is J-Pop.
J-Pop. So his whole deal, you know, he's a pinball guy, loves designing pinball machines.
Yep.
This little Zidware thing here, this is a company that he made to produce some pinball machines.
Okay, and I'm sure that went really well.
It was awesome, yeah. It worked out really, really well, and they shipped no games.
Oh!
They wanted to, though, and then this guy came along.
Okay.
You see this guy before?
He looks like he manages 5 or 6 Dave & Buster's in the Midwest.
Yes, this man is Robert Mueller.
Oh, that's the guy. That's the guy who wrote that report.
He's known for his report.
Yeah, he took down the president of the United States.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And he took down a number of other things, too.
Oh, okay.
Turns out.
Wow.
And so basically what happened is, this guy, John Popaduke, you know, he had some great ideas for some games, tried to get them built, had some trouble getting them built. And then this other guy, Robert, comes into the picture, right? And he's got some great ideas for how to get these things built.
Okay. So you got the ideas man, and you got the guy who can get it done.
That's exactly right.
So it's me and you.
It's a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
So the first thing that they tried to get off the ground was this thing. This is called Magic Girl.
Okay.
You see this? You hear about this?
I've heard about this. So the one thing I know about pinball is that everyone loves the magic.
Right.
And this brings the magic to the whole table.
It brings the magic to a girl.
And sorry I said table. I know. You're going to have to bear with me. I'm the idiot here. I don't know anything about any of this shit.
It brings the magic to a whole girl, the most magical girl. Now, you might be wondering, too, you know, this game, what was so magical about it? Well, you can see the playfield is pretty cool, but probably the most magical thing was what a profit and loss statement would have looked like to build this thing. Because they were trying to make 24 of these.
Okay, that sounds...
Period.
Oh, so what were they selling them for?
Oh, I don't remember, like $14,000 or something like that?
So this was a non-profit endeavor.
This was a for-profit endeavor.
Ah.
And so
We've got some mistakes being made.
we've got
right
this
now.
great game, and then, like I said, Deeproot Pinball comes into the picture. Deeproot Pinball, of course, being
That's a took us.
Yeah, that's a
It's-
butt, folks. Just gotta say it. That logo does not look safe for work.
No.
And we were told actually earlier today that, like, you know, anything is fair game. We were not going to show this logo if we
Yeah.
hadn't gotten the approval to do so.
Yeah,
but,
it's filthy.
you know, we did.
It's also completely different from the logo that's on our shirts.
That's true. And you'll notice that this logo right here, this is the logo of actually Deeproot Pinball itself, right?
yeah.
So Deeproot Pinball, the company, or the division, because there were a lot of different divisions of this company.
Okay, so they were diversified, which means that they're a good business.
That's right.
Yeah.
They were diversified into a lot of really, really appropriate verticals that were
Okay.
making them a great deal of money.
Good. I love to hear about good business that has solid fundamentals.
And so, of course, this you know, game was gonna get built, and it was going to be amazing. It was going to change the world because there were a lot of cool features.
So this is Zombie Adventureland?
Retro Atomic Zombie Adventureland. Yeah.
I see nothing of that in this game. I see no zombies. I see no retro. I see no Adventureland.
Mega Man's over here,
Yeah, that is Mega Man.
so that's cool. I don't know.
Good for Mega Man. I'm glad he's still doing things. I know he was going through a rough patch.
He was
there.
going through a rough patch. He's
Yeah.
doing okay.
Little
Anyway,
time in rehab.
yeah. Like, so this game looks pretty cool, right? Like, I'd play this. Would
It
you play
lights
this?
up, yeah.
It's fun. And so for the longest time, you know, trying to get this game built, but it turns out that making a game is actually not as easy as you might think.
Well, here's the thing, Josh.
Yeah.
I once heard from a very wise man that pinball is easy.
Oh yeah, who is that?
I believe he was the special counsel investigating Donald Trump.
Got it.
Robert Mueller.
Yeah. No, famous quote from that man. So I just wanted to show you a couple other cool things on this
Okay.
game. So have you ever, you know, when you're playing pinball and you're like, I'm trying to flip the buttons.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought to yourself, I wish there was more between these buttons?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Cool. Well, have I got the pitch for you?
Okay.
This thing right here is called the pin bar.
The pin bar.
And it's called the pin bar because it's a bar in the middle
your pins.
for your pins. And so you can
Yeah.
like push different things and make cool different things happen. And
So this is an iPad.
yes.
This is something that seems like it would distract from the act of playing pinball because they've like on the image on the left, it's like some sort of
Yeah, but like you can put graphics on it and
yeah,
shit.
it's like there's a Fruit Ninja game happening at the same time.
Yeah, it's so like, you know, a lot of different options that are available. And so you can see how this could add a lot of convenience. You know, it's difficult when you have a pinball machine to just open it up and push the buttons inside, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the problem I have playing
Yeah.
pinball, because
Uh-huh.
I'm not good at this game.
Right.
It's very inconvenient. I never know where the things are. I never know where the buttons are.
Yes. Have you ever tried to maintain a pinball machine?
No, but that seems kind of difficult. I saw some people doing that yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, they were
where
setting up the games right
They
over
were,
there.
you know, lifting up the glass, lifting up the play area,
Mm-hmm.
tweaking some of the things on the bottom. And I thought the same thing that I think with mechanics who
Yeah.
work on cars.
Right.
This would all be so much easier if you could just turn it upside down.
The car.
The car and the machine.
Oh,
yeah,
have I got
whole
an
thing.
invention for you, dude? Check
Oh,
this out.
okay.
So, this is...
Makes a lot of noise, so you know it's. Oh,
Yeah,
ooh,
so-
yeah.
You know, it...
By the way, the
Yeah.
guy blurred out in the middle of that video. That's me.
That's you?
Yeah, I'm the one who's really excited about this.
I can understand why. It's an exciting invention. Yeah.
It's like he's trying to convert it into a skee ball table.
Okay, so I got one more question for you, right?
Okay.
If that hasn't sold you yet,
Yeah.
what if I could tell you
Yeah.
that you see those boxes over there?
I do see those boxes.
Are there any issues with those boxes?
Yeah.
What are they?
First thing off the top of my head.
Yes.
Can't reuse them.
That-
No one's ever reused a cardboard box in their life. That's a problem.
Right.
Right? You want to
Right.
reuse your boxes.
Right.
2, pretty boring.
Yes.
Looks single use, right? A box like that, you look at it and you say, what's inside that? pinball machine.
Yes.
You look inside that, the pin pod, and what's inside that is possibility.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you had the possibility to add one of these pin pods onto your very own Deeproot pinball machine. And do you know, like, just looking at this crate, and it's a well-built piece of machinery.
Okay,
like,
so we're talking pre-pandemic lumber costs because it's gotten a little out of control.
You got some
lately.
brackets, you got some boards.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's been treated, but it's not stained, it's not pretty.
Yeah.
So I would say probably $400, right?
Yeah, so 950 United States dollars.
No,
yeah,
that's almost $1,000.
So these were the kinds of innovations that Deeproot was bringing to the fore.
Wow.
Great ideas, great pricing, lots of great things. So, you know, after this went on for a while, on the Pinside forums, which I'm sure everybody who's like watching on stream right now has probably posted on Pinside at some point.
I have gone to the website once, personally. So.
Probably my favorite post in the history of maybe anywhere, certainly on Pinside, but also maybe anywhere. Because people, after a while, you know, with this like Raza machine and all that stuff, it became clear that this game was not getting delivered on schedule.
Okay, so the months were passing. No one was seeing any actual artwork or things lighting up or anything.
Right.
It's just stuff like that machine flipping over.
Yeah, the reveal of the pin pod. You know, like lots of promises being made, but not so much in the way of actual like concrete, you know, deliverables.
Yeah, most of my exes know what that's like.
And so, this is my favorite post ever. Is this real? And the link is https://www.sec.gov.
Oh, well, okay, so not having seen this link, pretty sure it's real.
It's real.
Yeah.
And on this post, it was revealed that
that is the government.
That is the government of the United States of America. And I'm going to read a bit from this complaint. In the United States District Court for the Western District of Texas San Antonio Division, Securities and Exchange Commission plaintiff against, and I love this, so I'm going to just read the whole thing, and you're going to have to deal with it. Robert J. Mueller, Deeproot Funds, LLC, a.k.a. DPRT Funds, LLC, and Policy Services Incorporated, defendants, and Deeproot Tech, LLC, Deeproot Pinball, LLC, Deeproot Studios, LLC, Deeproot Sports and Entertainment, LLC, Deeproot RE12621 Silicon Drive, LLC, and Robert J. Mueller, Jeffrey L. Mueller, and Belinda G. Breen as co-trustees of the M.B. Hale Ohana Revocable Trust.
Ohana means family. And family means no one gets left behind.
That's right, Brian.
Or forgotten. Okay, no. We're not going to the next slide yet because I have to ask you some questions.
No, go for it. Go for it.
So the first thing I noticed, Deeproot Funds.
Yes.
That's not what you call someone who makes pinball machines, is it?
No. And so this is
that diversification we're talking about.
This is the diversification. So like everybody knows that the best way to run a pinball company is to attach it to a mutual fund, right?
That's not how I would do it, but I'm not a businessman.
Yeah, you're not this guy. And so...
No, we're not done.
Okay.
Because, so I'm also seeing Deeproot Studios?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm assuming they're making movies?
Yeah, and there was some animation involved.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
The thing that, for some reason, more than anything else, sends a shiver down my spine is Deeproot Sports?
Yeah, I honestly can't really speak to that. But yeah, Deeproot Sports and Entertainment, I think they wanted to like start up a pro sports team or something like that too.
Well,
like,
if there's one thing I know about all of these ventures, they're all very modest. They have good, simple return on investment, but they're solid business, right? Like you're pretty much guaranteed if you know what you're doing to make a little bit of money as long as you're not over-promising, right?
Yeah, broadly speaking, it's like the famous saying, anybody can start an animation studio. All you need is a twinkle and a dream. I just made that up. Did you like it?
Yeah, I think that was actually Walt Disney. I think if you dig deep enough, like.
So anyway, the Securities Exchange Commission of the United States.
Yeah.
Put out this thing, and this is a civil complaint, right, against Robert Mueller. And I will read again from this. From at least September 2015 to at least February 2021. So again, this is 6-ish years, 5.5 years. Robert J. Mueller and Deeproot, both investment advisors, defrauded 2 investment funds they advise and nearly 300 people who invested roughly $58 million in the funds.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so for me, this is where the story becomes a lot less funny, to be honest.
Yeah, so that number, if we average it out, that's about a little less than $200,000 per person.
Right.
Being named here.
And
so these aren't necessarily millionaires who are being defrauded.
No, and then when you look at where the money was actually coming from, you know, in the next part of the complaint, Mueller and Deeproot persuaded investors, many of whom were retirees, so already living on a fixed income, to cash out annuities and individual retirement accounts they held with other investment companies and invest in the funds.
What a dick.
Yeah, not good, not good. And finally, this is actually kind of funny again. They called it the 575 fund.
Okay, like the 999 plan.
Yeah, that was what's his name?
Herman Cain.
Herman
Cain. Rest
in
peace.
Yeah, rest in peace. They basically made a promise that you could receive either simple annual interest of 7% per year, paid out in a lump sum at the end of the 5-year term, or 5% simple annual interest paid out in monthly installments for each of 5 years. Thus, the 575 in the fund's name.
Okay. So they promised that.
Yeah, you know how like when you open up an investment prospectus, the very first sentence is always, this is not a guarantee. Like, nothing is promised here. You know, past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Yeah, they didn't do that.
And the market's okay right now, I guess. Who knows what the market's like these days.
It's weird.
But at the beginning of 2020, I'm assuming that's when we're starting to run into trouble with Deeproot specifically?
Yeah, well, I mean, it turns out that, toward the beginning of the year of our Lord, 2020, there was
I think Lord did put out an album that year.
Yes, and the Lord put out a great new virus.
The first of 10 plagues.
That's right.
Still waiting for the second.
So, I mean, this is really the gist of it, right? And this is the gist of the civil complaint.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the story up until about March-ish. The other big thing that I just wanted to point up, though, is that in order, because this is a civil case, right? And in a civil case, the big thing is you just are trying to get as much money back as possible to pay off creditors and stuff like that. They have not filed anything in the way of criminal charges yet. That could be forthcoming, but it hasn't happened yet. But I kind of wanted to, I thought about this for a little while. And I was like, what could we maybe do that would make this a little bit fun and interactive? Sort of like bring the world of the bankruptcy auction to the great people here at the New York City Pinball Conference.
Give all of us your money right now.
So
I would like to take it, and I promise you'll get it back later.
Yeah, well, we'll get back to you.
Yeah?
I just wanted to show off. Here's a couple cool pictures, by the way, of like the office. You know.
Okay, well, now I'm seeing one of the biggest problems they had here.
Yeah.
No employees.
That's right, Brian. And so all of this stuff had to go onto auction, right?
Hold on.
To the studs.
What is that picture? That's a crematorium.
Yeah, that's
They're really diversified. They were getting into the funerary industry.
They were, yeah. You could throw an entire corpse in there and just incinerate
There's nothing else in that room.
That's what all the tubing is for up there, is to get the ashes out.
Yeah.
So basically, wanted to bring the excitement of this bankruptcy auction to our attendees here, and so I'm going to go ahead and say it. Or actually, why don't you go ahead and say it?
All right. Come on down.
Folks,
it's The Price is Right, hosted by Drew Carey.
Hey, everybody.
Who has called in sick earlier today. It's Josh. It's Josh.
I'm Josh. I'm filling in for Drew Carey today. And for everybody who's still over at the tournament games, this is your opportunity to win some extremely real Deeproot merchandise.
Yes.
This is not a joke.
They have all been put through the wash because I sorted all of them a couple weeks back, and they felt kind of oily.
Yeah.
And rough.
But thankfully, my building has a really nice community washing machine.
It's the whole song.
So here's how this is going to work. We're going to pull up an item.
Yeah.
We're going to go over it, and we're going to say, hey, you know, how much do you think that this went for at auction? And this is Price is Right rules, right? So I want you to guess the price without going over.
Yep.
And I want to get, like, I don't know, who wants to come up? Who wants to come up and win a shirt? Yeah, come on, let's go. All right, so let's go ahead and have our first item. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's put you stand over there.
Yeah,
face the rest of the crowd. And here we go.
Everybody give it up for Jonathan. Jonathan's here.
All right. Spend the rest of your summer in style with 79 Deeproot Pinball T-shirts. Pinball is easy, almost as easy as slipping on one of these fashionable 100% cotton Gildan T-shirts. You'll be the envy of all of New York when you roll up to the club bearing the logo of San Antonio's premier pinball manufacturer on your chest and the slogan, "Pinball for the masses" across your back. With an array of sizes, you'll be sure to find one to fit your build, especially if that build is medium. Seriously, 45 of these are medium size.
So, what do you think? And you can't look at the screen. I gotta hide that.
Yep.
But 79 shirts. What do you think it went for at auction?
What do you think Josh specifically paid for that?
How much do you think I paid for these shirts before shipping? 79 T-shirts. I hear $8,500.
$10.
$10. $4,100?
Yeah, I'll go with that.
For 79 T-shirts, $4,100? I'm gonna need you to go a lot lower because I really want you to win this shirt.
Okay, $250.
$250. You are very, very over, but I don't care. I'm giving it to you anyway.
Yes.
The actual auction price is 80 United States dollars for 79 T-shirts.
All right. What size are you? Large. All right. Let me find a large. There's not so many of them because there's so many mediums.
There's so many mediums. Give it up for Jonathan, everybody. And I'm actually going to go ahead, too, and I think there's probably people watching on Twitch, so I'm going to try to pull up the stream here real quick as well. Doop-a-doop-a-doo.
We're going to keep going.
We're going to keep going. Excellent. All right. So our next item available here, and again, at auction, is... when Brian's ready.
I have to pull up my script. Okay. Get to work already with a set of 8 office chairs. Octo manufacturing will be a reality in your very own home when you and 7 of your best friends sit down in these 8 Herman Miller Aeron desk chairs, equipped with full lumbar support and famous mesh back. Enron probably auctioned off at least 15,000 of these in 2001, and we've totally forgotten by now, but the remnants of Enron's collapse still linger. Think about it. Thousands upon thousands of used Herman Miller Aeron chairs in offices and warehouses across Texas, permanently depressing the office furniture market, each chair a teeny tiny monument to man's hubris. Perhaps these are chairs with double history. 8 chairs with double history. That's effectively 16 chairs.
That's right, folks.
What is this, Josh? Why did you write all of this about Enron?
It's a really good joke. So here's some chairs. Who wants to come on down for the opportunity to win a Deeproot Pinball T-shirt and guess how much these 8 chairs went for at auction?
All right, Howard, come on down.
Come on down, Howard. So you are guessing these 8 chairs right here at the Deeproot liquidity auction. How much do you think these chairs went for in total, all 8 of them?
I'm gonna throw out there $110.
Per chair, so $880?
No, for the lot.
For the lot.
You think that all 8 chairs were $110? That would be an incredible deal.
Really?
But,
Wait a second, wait. I thought you said that there was like an overabundance of these chairs.
oh, there definitely is, but they're still like Herman Miller, so.
I'm talking supply and demand here. So you really think that's too low, crowd? Too low? How about 300 for the lot?
The actual answer is $1,525.
That's all right. You're still
Yeah.
getting a shirt. What size are you?
I know, right? What size shirt do you want?
Way off.
That's all right.
What are my choices?
Any size.
Small, medium, large, extra large, extra, extra large, and 3XL.
Extra?
Extra? Okay. Thank you, Anne.
All right. And
Here we go. Next round.
Yes.
Okay.
What?
Am I doing the swears?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here we go.
Buy this shit and figure it out. A vacuum former. I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I have no fucking idea what this thing is. It says on the paper in front of me that it's a Belovac Model C Class 24-inch by 48-inch vacuum former with tooling table, 3 1/4 inch, 8 centimeters, pneumatic drive cylinder, 300 pound, 136 kilograms, seal pressure with adjustable slotted track for rapid tool mounting, solid state programmable heat timing unit coupled with programmable percentage control unit, heater panel, 20,000 watts infrared radiant panel with size down option, vacuum pump, high volume, high vacuum pump, onboard 20-gallon surge tank. As best I can tell, it sucks you off.
So, how much for whatever this thing is? Anyone? 400?
400? 3,000?
Higher, higher. 12,000, lower.
12,000?
8,000, lower. 69. The actual price, and honestly, whoever wants a T-shirt can have one. It's $5,200.
So yeah, if you want a shirt, come on up.
No,
talk
literally
to
come up and
Ann.
get a shirt. Like, that's what it's here for.
Tell them your size. We'll get you a shirt.
Yeah.
There's just too many of them.
Yeah, we got to get rid of these shirts, guys. All right, there's one more here, and we're just going to run through this pretty quickly.
One more?
Yeah, there's
Oh,
one
God,
more.
I have to
and
do
this
this
is
voice
important,
again.
actually, because it plays into the next part of what we're going to talk about here.
Oh, yes, it is. Okay, okay. All right. Be the envy of all your friends with a new pinball machine. A piece of history only comes along for purchase every so often, and this Deeproot Pinball Retro Atomic Zombie Adventureland prototype is one such item. It's in full working order, and by working order, I mean that we can turn it on and push the buttons to flip the flippers, and it makes noises sometimes. What's that worth to you? Seriously, what's it worth? Was it worth all of this? How much money needs to go into the money fire until you people are satisfied?
I hear 22,000.
I need to take a break.
It's actually lower. 13,375. That's very close. A little lower. You said 17,000? Oh, 13,000. Little lower, little lower. The actual auction realized price is, oh wait, no, it's higher. I lied. 65. 16,500. You want a T-shirt? Come down and get a T-shirt. Okay, we have fun here, don't we, folks? The next thing that we're going to go ahead and do, though, now that we've had a chance to talk a bit about the backstory here, is we're going to be bringing on a very special guest. Now, this is a man who's really been following this saga probably closer than literally anybody. And he is joining us today remotely. This is, go ahead and unmute your microphone now if you want, and let's get to it. Can you hear us?
Let's do it.
Hello.
I can hear you.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
So yeah, this is Blueberry Johnson, the man himself. Why don't you go ahead and let the people know sort of who you are, what your story is, and what brought you here today.
Yeah, you got it. Well, first, I just want to say it's so great to be joining, obviously, one of the best podcasts there is, and obviously the best pinball show there is, with obviously the best live pinball show podcast listening crowd. That's a cheer line. Applause. Woo. Okay, that didn't work.
A lot of people left
yeah,
earlier for lunch or for dinner break. So
Yeah, yeah.
Got it. I can't see. All right,
Yeah.
so I'm just talking to you guys, but that's cool.
We're
That's
having a great time. There's
yeah,
time.
I'm calling in from a rock in the middle of the Pacific. I'm in Hawaii. I'm not really Blueberry Johnson, but that's my name on Pinside, and I got involved in this whole ridiculous saga because it was such a soap opera that fascinated me in many different ways. I like finding things on the internet. I started finding things about Deeproot on the internet before it all crashed and burned, kind of as you've kind of already covered. And then in posting those, people who worked at Deeproot back when they were afraid to speak publicly about it started filling some of the gaps, contacting me, sending me the video that you showed there with the Robert using that exciting new invention, the internal Slack messages about him explaining why people weren't getting paid, all sorts of internal documents, employee manuals, basically the inside scoop on what was going on behind the scenes. And as publicly a shit show as it was, it didn't cover but a tenth of the real kind of nightmare that was going on inside. So somehow, without intending to, I got roped into, I guess, being amateur investigative journalist on this topic.
Yeah, I mean, and it's definitely the sort of thing, too, where, you know, we did our first show about Deeproot, like, almost exactly a year ago. We had Levy on, who sort of told us the story up to a certain point, and now we've really brought you on to fill in some of the gaps that, you know, exist between what happened then and, you know, where we stand right now. So I think the best place for us to start with this is just to specifically talk a bit more about Robert himself. Because, you know, in order to really get into this, we need to understand how he got away with fooling so many people for so long. Because again, we can laugh at the innovations and stuff like that all day, but ultimately this was something that cost a lot of people potentially their entire retirement savings. There's a lot of people who bought pinball machines that were never delivered, and you know, a lot of people who ended up working for this company with very, very little to show for it, honestly, and it's extremely unfortunate. So I guess the first thing that I'm wondering is if you could tell us a little bit about, like, why was it that people were so willing to buy into what he was selling and how that changed over time?
Yeah, sure. So I think there's probably some major components to that. Number one would be throwing around a lot of money at the beginning. Yeah. So Robert wanted to go big or go home, and he had a bunch of money to invest in ways that we've never seen people starting up a pinball company, hiring basically every available famous designer of yesteryear, you know, plus J-pop, and paying large salaries, bringing in a huge team, buying a preposterous headquarters or renting a preposterous headquarters in San Antonio that wasn't actually set up for manufacturing. It was also kind of like building goodwill with the pinball community. If Levy had played his cards right, or Never Beef had played their cards right, and Deeproot were still around, I bet they would give $50,000 to sponsor this event, because they were the platinum sponsor of Papa, of Pinburg, of all these things. And so when you have a guy that's coming out and legit has money, because you can't kind of fake actually giving all this money away, hiring all these people to good salaries, people who either used to be in the business or want to get into it, and he says, hey, come and we'll pay you a whole bunch. You can do your dream of working in pinball. Why wouldn't you want to do it? And so that's initially how it got going, with having so many employees, having so much coverage.
Sure.
Why, in terms of pulling the wool over the eyes or fooling people? Well, I think behind the scenes, pretty quickly for some folks and longer for other folks, they started to understand this wasn't working out. But Robert was a lawyer, and he was very aggressively litigious, threatening people with lawsuits. He had everybody sign NDAs, which I haven't actually seen what they are, but enough that like nobody was willing to speak out publicly about what was going behind the scenes, and we would hear whispers for years. And by the way, this went on, I don't remember when they started, but like 5 years. We're not just talking a bit of time. This was a lot of coverage about a lot of nothing, but we know Robert would excitedly talk about his burn rate, meaning how much they're spending per month, being up to $750K, which doesn't make a lot of sense if you're trying to make a business. So no one doubted that there was money behind the thing. And so why would you think, oh, maybe it was being misappropriated by this investment fund until the SEC came out?
Right. Well,
but once people,
I feel like a big part of it too is probably that, like, up until a certain point, they were still showing something resembling a concrete deliverable, right? It was really only more toward like when the pandemic hit that all of a sudden they just went like radio silent, right?
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting because if you go back through the interviews, and there's probably 100 of them written and podcasts, this dude came out making huge, ridiculous promises. They're going to make more games and ship more games than any company in history.
Right. Octo manufacturing, all that, yeah.
Octo manufacturing, all the fun buzzwords and such. And then he wouldn't show so much as talk and do presentations at Pinball Expo. Sometimes they would like reveal, here's what this game is going to look like. And from time to time, you would even get to see a prototype. But it kept being failures. They had at least 3 or 4 failed launches. They were going to have 5 days of Deeproot. We didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, we talked about that with Levy a bit, yeah.
Time after time, these things got canceled. And we still know, okay, this is going on for years and years, but we're going to make Raza. That's going to be the first game. Oh, it didn't work out because XYZ or the pandemic. And so they showed, but people started to catch on publicly too. There's a thread with 35,000, who knows how many posts, lampooning the nonsense going back years, and that was actually the second thread because there was on Pinside that one with J-pop. So it's not like no one was skeptical at the beginning,
right?
But the thing always was keeping people from talking out to share what's going on and throwing lots of money around. So it's reasonable that people got good paychecks for a while. For a couple of years, it was roses, even though they weren't producing anything. Eventually, when the paycheck stopped, that's when more people kind of like started fleeing the ship.
Yeah, so I guess we might as well then go from sort of, again, what has happened that led into all of this, litigation, and sort of start to get into the meat of it here with, like we know the government's going to try to get as much of the money back as possible, right? Like that's kind of what the government does. And so let's track a little bit of what that has looked like so far, starting in March of 2022, this past March. So I'm just wondering, like, if there's anything specifically with, like, the filings, the creditor meetings, or anything like that that you want to talk a little bit about that you've been able to discover as a part of your research.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because you mentioned before, and this was dating back, you said you talked about it a year ago, the SEC charges coming out. Almost immediately, there were mention of pending criminal charges, or technically that a criminal case had been opened. But people who kind of know this stuff are like, where's the criminal charges? This has been a long time to do it. So right now, as you mentioned, it's a civil case on the SEC side. And for a while, that was hot and heavy. It led to the bankruptcies. The bankruptcies weren't a part of the initial thing. That was, okay, the SEC is bringing down the hammer. Time to file bankruptcy for our 11 LLCs. By the way, not all of the LLCs. There are even other ones that aren't included, and I don't understand why.
What are your favorites?
But it's still a bunch of LLCs.
That's the crematorium.
Wizard Mode Media LLC,
Wizard
Farewell
Mode?
Dinosaur Entertainment,
What?
Robot Dreams LLC. Yeah, there's more. There's a bunch. And the Sports and Entertainment, that's a great one. Yeah, for a while. I mean, I can tell you a bit about a lot of stuff happened pre-pinball because the investment stuff existed before that. The sports and entertainment happened before that and kind of like died on the vine, even though I guess it's technically still existing. Yeah, Robert wanted to bring like a semi-pro team, soccer team to MLS. To San Antonio. And he would sponsor it. They were sponsoring the Deeproot Cup was a thing. You can go on eBay. Somebody bought a jersey that's a soccer jersey because he wanted to be. Look, I'll tell you a few things about Robert. Is that he wanted to be a big shot.
Sure.
And he wasn't initially. And when he came into money, at some point, it was like, all right, this is how it's supposed to be. I'm going to show everybody how big a deal I am. I'm going to be a mogul in all these different ways. You mentioned Deeproot Studios. That was the wannabe Pixar outfit that he created in Utah, where literally, I've been told, he decided how many employees to have there by asking, what is the Utah animation studio with the most number of employees? How many is that? And we'll have one more. So then I can say we're the biggest one. And that one was eventually shut down, but not before they were fined by the Department of Labor of Utah over $1 million for like workplace like payment problems. But that one's gone. Yeah, we haven't seen any of the auctioning for that stuff, by the way.
Right. Well, so
that's that. There's still more question marks there.
Yeah,
all that has gone to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
I guess a question then as well is, with this litigation, one of the big pieces that people keep coming back to over and over again, because, like, again, there were all of these assets that could be easily liquidated. But one of the biggest pieces that is still sort of a question mark is these insurance policies. Can you talk a little bit more about like what these insurance policies is, what the deal is with them, why they were taken out, and like what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I can cover some of that. And some of this will be breaking news, never yet before revealed.
That's right, folks in the tournament area, breaking news.
Yeah, come over. Like, just give up on your ball in the middle. This is more important. Even though it's being recorded, don't you want to be able to tell people you were there when you heard it?
Yeah.
Okay, so just a quick overview of how this works. So the main, as the SEC alleges, I don't have the books. The books were apparently just a total nightmare, so I don't know if anyone has the books. But let's just say we believe the SEC.
Yeah.
Most of the money of Deeproot obviously didn't come from pinball. These people who were investing, these were life insurance policies, and they were trying to get this like reliable return on it. And all you got to do is have these policies and pay the premiums on them. And then people, I mean, it's kind of morbid, but some people die.
Yeah.
And that's when then like they cash out and you get it. And that was the main model.
And that's the mechanic that actually funded the Ponzi scheme itself, was that like you have to keep getting more people in, but...
Alleged.
Sure, alleged.
And by the way, I said this on another thing. Just pretend I say alleged before everything.
Of course, of course.
In case Robert's listening. Okay, so
Yes.
So I think they said Ponzi-like scheme in the SEC filing. So, but anyway, yes. So that's the idea, is that that's where the money came from. Nobody wanted to invest in Deeproot Pinball. He actually, in 2015, put out like an offer of share of stocks in Deeproot Pinball and just Deeproot Pinball, and none were purchased, so $0. So one could theorize that later, when he put out like, hey, you can invest in these investment funds, then they got like $60 million or whatever. But then they used so much of that money, upwards of $30, $40 million to fund pinball, even though people don't realize that's where much of their money was going, because why would you think that? It said something about like, you know, most of this is for insurance, but we'll also invest in like great businesses, as you were suggesting before.
Right,
so one of the great businesses was pinball.
Right, but the point of the insurance...
those policies... Oh, sorry.
Yes, but the point of the insurance is that like you need to have enough money to pay out when someone dies. Like that's...
Yeah, and you need to, and if you don't pay the regular premiums, then those insurance policies that are worth potentially millions, what happens to them is you lose them. And that happened a few times.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And so this is a nightmare scenario, because if he had just kept up with the payments, then maybe more money would keep coming in. But for whatever reason, some of these major payments, like multi-million-dollar policies, were lost because the premiums weren't paid.
Wait,
because
so
it was a...
I'm just now starting to understand what you're saying here. I thought you were saying that he had a life insurance company that other people were buying into. You're saying he's taking out life insurance policies on other people, or?
It's complex, and we can get... No, what you were saying was correct, but basically the company was acquiring these assets, getting people to like sell their life insurance policies to be like, we'll give you some money now if you turn it over. Then you could buy shares.
Oh,
These
you're
300
selling the
investors
debt.
could be
Okay.
like-
Yeah,
Yeah, you sell the death. But anyway, but if you don't pay those premiums, then those policies lapse, and then when the person dies, that's sad enough, but also no millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And that happened a few times. So he was behind on these payments. I don't even remember where the hell we were talking about before.
Well,
But
so I guess,
this is where it's
the question is, you know, so that's the situation. Excuse me. That's the situation with these insurance payments. They're in this weird state where like that was supposed to be the engine that would drive the fund. It didn't work out because, you know, eventually you run out of money when you're always, you know, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul or whatever. What is the status of these insurance policies now?
Yes, that's what you wanted, yes. So what happened was some of these were lapsing. After Robert's business was kind of like frozen by the SEC and all this kind of stuff, then there were still payments that needed to be made, but nobody was making the payments. And I would say maybe the trustee of the bankruptcy, estate didn't have the records to know when they should pay or whatever, so additional policies were lost. So what happened was, we've talked about where money's come back. Some of the money came back from the lovely auction that we covered there, but more money came back from selling the existing non-lapse policies and even selling the lapse policies because, and I don't know how it works, maybe you can convert that into something or other. But as I understand it, okay, so what we've seen publicly is there were court filings that there was this new entity called TWOAPW Holdings. And it was like, hey, we want to enter a stalking horse agreement. By the way, I didn't know anything about this before.
Yeah, I was gonna, like, this is like very advanced, like financial instruments.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's amazing what you learn. So the short version is this party, 2U Holdings, was like, hey, we want to buy those insurance policies, and we'll even start making payments on them because we know if nobody does, they're not going to be worth anything. Here's our offer. Court, do you approve this? 30 days, somebody else could apply to outbid us or whatever. There was a court holding, even, this is also behind the scenes info, the attorney for creditors that were trying to like say, hey, this is moving too fast, like got in touch with me and asked for some of my research to include in her court filings.
Oh, wow.
So Pinside is entered as an exhibit into the court documents.
Oh, that's what's
like
up.
Exhibit 15 of their filings. It's beautiful. It has shit posts. It has memes. It has avatars. Pages and pages are in the official court documents, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, and I'm not a judge, judge of performance and lawyering, it didn't work out. It wasn't the greatest performance. And the court was like, look, the trustee has no money to try to recoup other funds because Deeproot was a shit show. So we're going to approve this because somebody's offering us $1 million, offering the state $1 million, and nobody else is. So then they were sold to 2U Holdings.
So what's the upside? What's the upside for this 2U Holdings company? What's the benefit of even having these policies at this point?
Well, if you pay the premiums, then it's basically what Deeproot business was before, happened for a while, and then fell off. Apparently, you can make money on this, so it's an investment.
So you just wait. You just wait for those people whose policies you bought to die, and then you cash that in.
Yeah.
So it's like a reverse mortgage type thing.
Sure. Wait, what people are these? Like, who needs to die in order for this to work out?
So this is like ordinary. So what they're going is they're usually probably going to older people, right, who are still alive. And they're saying, hey, we can pay you this amount of your life insurance policy now. Because, hey, what's better than actually getting your money now? We take that policy, we own that now, and we're paying into it now. You're not even in that debt anymore. And then we get kind of the money that's left over when you die.
100%. Yeah.
So then what's the story with this 2U Holdings? What's that all about?
Well, okay, so I didn't know if we were like going too far, but like 2Yo is it's not an acronym, it's a portmanteau of two and yo. And Yo is a lawyer in Texas named David Yost. He's a lawyer guy, whatever. The more interesting part is the two, which are the first two letters of Turner, which is Chris Turner, who is a name that some Deeproot fanatics are very familiar with. But Chris Turner ran Turner Logic, which was the kind of web and software company that Robert worked with years before getting into pinball to do all of his business sites, to actually even do his Deeproot Funds portal, to make every kind of like computery thing. Robert was probably like, oh, it involves computers. These guys will do it. But this guy, Chris Turner, who's the president of it, worked for 4 years or so on pinball stuff because they were hired to do all the software for Deeproot. And then when it went to shit, he goes, he became aware of these assets. That's kind of spoilery, but according to him, nobody was actually like pursuing paying these things. They just kept lapsing. And he was interested in some of the Deeproot IP, going back to that Raza that we talked about earlier, the 16.5 Raza. And in going to the auction, he said, what's the deal with all the insurance stuff? And it sounds like there wasn't yet a plan for that. So he goes, oh, that's a shame if that stuff just like dies and, nothing happens with it. He could get it potentially for pennies on a dollar, 25 pennies on a dollar, which is what happened. And that's kind of an investment. And I guess also the idea of like, well, at least something comes of it rather than it just goes into the ether.
So, Brian, I'm curious to hear at this point, this is a lot of information.
Yeah.
Where are you at?
So Turner, because when we talked about this last year, Turner's name did not come up. So he was in the deep lore of the Deeproot stuff. And it turns out that he's actually much more important to all this operation. There's a lot of money kind of going between these two guys, between Mueller and Turner.
Well, look, he has emerged before. Maybe he was a support character or something. Yeah. But in the novel that is Deeproot, the most interesting chapter, it might even be a spin-off series, is now Chris Turner.
Okay.
There are a lot of things going on with Chris Turner. Like, actually, I'll say like hot and heavy for a while. The SEC filings, the bankruptcy stuff. It's really kind of slowed down. We don't know what's going on. We just go off the court documents. Mm-hmm. But boy, howdy, has the Chris Turner situation it's the new hotness in Deeproot.
So we'll get to a bit more about Chris Turner in a moment then, but was there anything else that you wanted to clear up, Brian?
I think I'm following along as well as anyone really could here.
I guess I just have one more question for our guest here, which is like, To what extent, based on everything that you've looked at, was there any real business here at all? Like, was it a real business? Like, people were getting paid and people were making stuff, but to what extent was it a real business versus, like, a customer acquisition play for this, like, Ponzi scheme with these insurance policies?
Weirdly, the soccer team, that was the real business. And they rolled them all out in pin pods.
This is my opinion, and people may differ. It was 100% a real business, but, like, terrible.
Sure.
Because the Ponzi scheme customer acquisition, no. Like, none of this benefited the insurance policy thing. It was just the Deeproot Pinball, the Deeproot Studios was just using up most of that money.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've seen the auction. We've seen lots of stuff I've shared that people leaked to me of the insides of stuff. They were buying all sorts of, like, expensive machinery. It was the wrong machinery. Because the guys decided it wasn't getting the right stuff. They were developing dozens of different games at once. They never finished any one, but they were doing it. I don't understand when people say, like, oh, it was a scam, like it was a front. I don't know. I think fronts are the opposite. Where you pretend you're a laundromat, but this would be the equivalent of, like, you're buying the 100 laundry machines or something, but then, like, you, like, don't know how to turn them on. There's no reason you would invest like this and pay these salaries to, like, trick people.
Yeah, or like you're
just incompetent.
You're like trying to open up a dry cleaner establishment, but you only buy washing machines, right? It's like that kind of thing.
Right, there is no dry cleaning. It's all like actual wet laundry.
Right.
I mean, what it sounds like
but
is
you're
like
trying. You want to dry clean.
Yeah, what it sounds like to me is like, you know, the real Ponzi case with Ponzi himself or with Bernie Madoff, they were just taking that money.
Right.
They were just taking it. And here you have essentially the plot of Uncut Gems going on.
Yeah.
Where this guy's like, well, okay, but if you get me just like 20 more bucks, I'm gonna put it into this team, and then I'm gonna get 100 more bucks, and then we're gonna crawl back. We're gonna claw all this back. And maybe if he had been able to drag it out for 5 or 6 more years, it could have improved, or it could have gotten much, much worse.
If only he'd had the gem.
Yes. But here we go. And
I think that's exactly it. I think it'd be hard to get into his mind, but he kept making horrible decisions to probably try to dig himself out of a hole. And his number one problem was that he thought he knew how to use a shovel and everyone else was an idiot.
Yeah.
Right.
Literally, one of these conclusions is, if any of us, and I don't think any of us have worked at pinball companies, maybe we're not even entrepreneurs, almost any other human with this amount of money, now let's not worry about that it was illegitimate, with these resources, with all this, we would have made pinball machines.
Yeah.
But it was this guy who this uniquely screwed everything up.
Yeah, well, because it also bears repeating that, like, there was a lot of really, and we talked about this when we were preparing for this. There was a lot of really good talent that was working for this company, like really, really talented people.
So I do have a question about one piece of terminology that we covered. Octo manufacturing. What was that all about?
Yeah. Is that just sort of a
what was that?
Manufacturing.
Do you know what that is? I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is?
Where did that come from?
Oh, well, yeah, no, I know. I can tell you a bit of the lore. I do like the idea of Deeproot lore. So Octo was like generation 2 because the first was quad manufacturing.
Oh, wow.
Robert was very fond, and some people think it was J-pop influence. If you look at like J-pop with like his like exciting magical terms too. Like all these other companies, Stern, they're stupid. Jersey Jack, they don't know what they're doing.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a genius. And we're going to, like, more manufacturing faster and cheaper than all these other companies that have manufactured things because we have these trade secrets. They were so into trade secrets.
Right.
Can't tell you what it is, but it's called quad manufacturing. And it's like, it's agile and it's lean and it's like dynamic shifting.
I love
whatever
things that are agile and lean and paradigm shifting. That is good to me.
So he just took the word manufacturing and added numbers to it and was like, see, there's 8 times as much.
Well, initially 4, but then later in interviews, because he did this, he would do a lot of This Week in Pinball interviews.
Right.
You can go through, in the Pinside thread, I documented like 60 bits of coverage from that. I don't know, maybe not 60, but it was a lot. But it was like, he had to always outdo himself, probably because like stuff wasn't happening. So like, here's the way I update you all. I say even more exciting stuff. So he said, forget quad manufacturing. But we still don't know what it was. That shit is dead. We're doing Octo. It was like the onion thing from like 12 years ago, which was when the Mach 3 came out, and it's like, fuck it, we're doing 5 blades. But that actually came true.
And then they did do 5 blades.
Manufacturing hasn't. Okay, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
It's also like in Top Gun Maverick, where Tom Cruise has to make the number get one bigger when he's flying in that like really, really fast plane.
As we said in an earlier episode of this podcast, anytime Josh mentions Top Gun Maverick,
take
go
a
ahead
shot.
and take a drink. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say I only know references that are 15 years old, so I haven't seen that. But
I can reference the original Top Gun as well if you'd prefer.
This is the first movie Josh has seen in 2 years.
Shut the fuck
and so
up!
it's the only thing he could talk about. And like, yes, Josh, I've also seen things happen on a big screen in front of me in the dark.
I hear it's very macho. So
yeah.
Maybe I should check it out.
Yeah, like us. Yeah, for sure.
So Octo was was 2 times better, you know. But we still didn't know what it was. But it was the whole idea is that we can we could be like just have anyway. The answer we found out from behind the scenes things, and then actually in person at the auction was this was just having kind of like a table with some like hammers and like screws and whatever. You know, I'm not a manufacturer guy. Where you have like 4 or 8 guys stand around and put together a pinball machine.
It's literally 8 guys.
Wait,
I love that.
So it's he thought, oh yeah, we took the assembly line, which revolutionized manufacturing for the last 150 years, and we're going to take it away now. We're going to have just a team of craftsmen work on one single thing, doing multiple jobs on it. That's so good.
I love that.
It's the opposite of what I was thinking.
It allows you to throttle in other verbs.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Well, I feel like this is as good of a time as any to sort of like... so much virtual ink has been spilled about Robert Mueller, you know, and it ultimately, at this point, until more concrete stuff comes out of the SEC investigation, there's honestly not a lot more to say about him. Like, you can go back and read that Pinside thread for more funny stuff, obviously.
Yeah. And, of course, the podcast Mueller, She Wrote.
That's right, Brian. Yeah. But what I'd like to do next is start talking a bit about Chris Turner, who you had mentioned. So this guy has been getting a lot of attention as a result of all of this, due in part to the fact that, he bought up a lot of the stuff, including that Raza prototype that we mentioned earlier, and the insurance policies. So what's this guy's deal? Like, where did he come from, and what is he trying to do?
Great questions. You guys are great interviewers. So, Chris Turner.
Thank you.
This was a name that some of us had seen for a while, but it was the big question mark. Like, I can tell you straight up, I never reached out to Deeproot employees or contractors or whatever, but in the course of my posting, like, 7 or 8 of them contacted me. But I never heard anyone from Turner Logic, which was, again, the company that previously did all of Robert's computery things, but then also, without having ever done programming, was hired to do all of the software for all of the games. And there's an old interview from 2018 where he's like, oh, yeah, I'll just have my guys who do the website do it. So he was a big question mark. But he was obviously involved. He was one of the guys who was actually there at the beginning. Like, when they started with the pinball thing, from my sources, it was Robert, J-Pop, Turner, and like 1 or 2 other guys.
And again, you said it was Turner mostly on the software side? Like, he was
100%.
Okay.
Only software.
Okay.
But they had a long history of working together. But we didn't know his deal. We thought it was funny, oh, these guys who make websites or whatever, they're going to do all the whole thing. But we never really got to see much of the software, right? Because like there were some streams or whatever, but we couldn't really see. So Turner had a front row seat to the entire Deeproot Pinball fiasco. And so after it all came crashing down, there was, all the websites went away. They started getting deleted. One day, because I had set up notifications, like you can have websites that'll tell you that you can track when websites get updated. So one day I got an update after months of Deeproot Pinball being off that like it was back online. And it was just the Deeproot logo, and there was like a encoded message, and it was like something interesting coming too.
Right.
I posted it to the thread. I'm like, what is this deal? And then that kicked off I think it was like a 9-week sort of like alternate reality puzzle game. And you could just go to the Turner, which I felt like the entire Deeproot thing has been an alternate reality game in a sense. But this was like very specifically that, like, what is this about? Each week there'd be a new code and there was a word search.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out like what is doing this. Now my theory 100% initially was like, this got to be Chris Turner, because we knew already that he bought every, all the expensive things he could get from the auction related to the pinball. He bought the Raza, he bought the other Raza, he bought the food truck, he bought like other cabs or something. Yeah. So he's obviously still interested. Then through court filings, I saw that he was inquiring about buying Deeproot's pinball IP.
Oh, okay.
He also bought the insurance policies, but we were like, what's the deal with that? And so we were like, this is probably him. So,
quick point of clarification on that. The Deeproot Pinball IP itself, like the brand and everything, does he also own that now?
Well, I can get to that. I mean, I can tell you now, or I can. Well, anyway, the answer is not clear. I think he's still trying to get it, and that's not. And by the way, he's not interested necessarily in like the butt plug logo. And they changed their logo, but like
come on, man, look at these T-shirts. They're great.
No, I know. Oh no, yeah. Somebody sent me a Raza one some way back, but like he's more interested in. He made all this software. His team, not just him. So he has this company, and he was involved in for 4 years or whatever it is in this pinball stuff that all crashed and burned.
Yeah.
And so he caught the pinball bug in the course of this, but we don't know that yet because who the heck is Chris Turner? He doesn't publicly do anything or something like that. So yeah, so we knew that. So it was like, oh, so probably, but we recognized anyone could have bought that domain. I was posting, hey, it's available. Who wants to bid on it? So it could have been somebody on Pinside screwing with us. Could have been somebody off of Pinside.
Yeah.
Because it was very, very clear that this successive puzzle thing, the only audience was Pinside because there were different people.
I'm gonna be honest, man. I actually have a pretty high degree of confidence that the audience was you specifically.
Oh no, I was. Well, I can tell you why it wasn't because I didn't solve it, and I was also like, shit, I don't know what this is.
Oh, okay.
There were some other people in the thread who did, and the reason we know that is because after it was solved, there were like multi-stages. Then it was a new countdown. It was like 10 days until we reveal the prize, what that person won, and what the whole deal was. And when that happened, it redirected to Turner Pinball, which is a new entity. And it was a video of Chris Turner interviewing the puzzle solver. What's that?
Oh, I'm just saying, yes, this is awesome.
Wait, so hold on.
We have a new pinball company.
New guy
coming
confirmed.
up from the ashes.
That's right.
Oh, yes.
Wait, so hold on. The video was him. Was Chris Turner interviewing this other guy, being like, congratulations on solving my Riddles 3?
Oh, Riddles 9. But I mean, Riddles 1, but 9 weeks. By the way, I'm sorry if it wasn't 9 weeks, but it was something like that. But yeah,
Nano manufacturing.
One was interviewing this guy. I think his username was Seraph, and he explained how he solved it. And he like cryptology and all this kind of stuff I didn't understand. It was like cool. I thought it was like, yeah, good job or whatever. And his prize for doing it was because it said there'd be a legit prize, was like a Raza back glass. And if you looked at it, like they have a different design. It's curvy and whatever. There's not too many of these, so that's like a good prize if you care about that stuff. So he interviewed to talk about the puzzle, but then Chris Turner also used this video to introduce himself and some of his intentions to the community. Because he knows, and I bear a lot of responsibility for this, that people are very skeptical of Chris Turner.
Well,
and the reason I bear responsibility,
I was gonna say it's not it's not unreasonable to have some pretty serious doubts and concerns, given the poor track record of the previous company and the fact that he was in there on the ground floor. Like that is inherently, as the kids say, sus.
He is imposter.
Totally.
But pinball is easy.
It is.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, no, that's reasonable, and there are a few other things about it too. Now, he was a big question mark because unlike maybe the other people involved, Steve Bowden, Barry Ausler, John Norris, John Pop, but whatever, Dennis Norman, people we know, people are like, oh, those people got fucked over. That sucks. They went to hire there and it was a shit show. Or Chris Turner, we don't know who this guy is.
Right.
And when he was doing that kind of suspicious seeming, I want these insurance policies, and he was the guy initiating it, it's like, how does this software guy want to pursue buying insurance policies? And he designed the Deeproot Fund's pre-pinball website for customers to interact with it. Does this guy have inside knowledge? You know, is he leveraging that to rush because it was like a 30-day window? I'm going to buy this. No one else felt like they had enough information, so guess what? He got to buy it at 25% cost.
Yeah,
that's a reason that's like, oh, that is sus. And then the other part about it is, look, you're launching your new, I want to introduce myself to the community on the domain of I don't know. I'm not a historian. The worst pinball disaster in history. And then coming on and say, this isn't about Deeproot 2.0. He was very clear about that. It was just because that domain was available and people were interested there. So I'm not trying to make Deeproot 2.0. This is Turner Pinball. But people were skeptical because the one last thing I'll add is, so I was finding connections that in the court filings, it felt to me like it wasn't telling the full story of Turner's involvement with Robert over the years.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, 100%. for wanting to buy the insurance policies, he described you have to disclose, is there any connection? It's like, our company was a contractor for, not the defendant or whatever, the party for some services. And I was like, shit, that's accurate, but you could be like true without telling the whole story.
Right.
For years, their company worked out of the Deeproot headquarters, and then when they moved headquarters, they worked out of it. They used the same address as the address for Deeproot as their address, and he did everything basically that Robert wanted for Pinball, plus was hired to do all of their software. So I think it was like, this doesn't feel like totally being forthright, but that might have been a lawyer thing that says, this is technically accurate or whatever. But I was posting those things, and then that's how I got involved in the lawyer contacting me, like,
sure,
give me all the information you have about Turner. Again, I'd never interacted with the guy though, so this was just based off the internet.
My main question about Turner right now, did he program the pin bar?
His team, I assume, did.
Oh my
100%.
God.
Hell yeah.
Amazing.
But yeah, so Turner, okay, it's the big reveal. Turner Pinball, it's a new company.
You're right.
Chris Turner, and he says, and I'll just give you what he said publicly, and then I can tell you other stuff.
Sure.
So Chris Turner comes out and he goes, hey, I got to know pinball by working on this for years, which makes sense, and I got the bug. I'm a guy who is into the...
That's plausible. Like, pinball, the pinball bug is a thing. Like, I am currently in a room surrounded by other nerds like me who got the pinball bug at some point in their life. And some of them are even looking at me right now and saying, with their eyes, how dare you call me a nerd? To which I say, I know you, I see you, you are like me.
100%. And Chris Turner, if
you
you
got
were
so
there,
intense.
you would call him a nerd. So Turner, he particularly likes the intersection of the physical with software, and that's like pinball's a great deal.
Sure.
Yeah.
He has some background that people haven't, don't know, that he was like worked at Lockheed Martin for years and was running their robotics, like amateur conductor.
I mean, that would explain where he got the money to buy up all this IP. I mean, Lockheed is crazy.
Perhaps, yeah. But he has other interests beyond just what you see on the website, for their products or something. But anyway, he got the bug. He had a front seat to like this disaster, but he and his team spent years and years building this stuff, and it was a shame of what happened. He'll say that. It was like very sad, and I've heard this from so many Deeproot employees, like the potential, what could have been, all this money, all this talent to produce nothing.
Yeah.
And so he decided, I want to try to continue with this in a business way. But I'm not going to be Deeproot 2.0. The reason he was trying to acquire the assets per him, the IP and all that, is because his team developed all that software, and then if nobody else claimed it, because by the way, we can see from the trustee there was an auction. There's no public thing that's like, hey, do you want to buy the Deeproot assets or whatever?
Right.
We only found out that he was trying to get it through the filings of like him directly inquiring. But his idea is, if I want to do something with this, but somebody else gets it, then what if it's like, I did all this work, but now I can't utilize it in new ways, which seems pretty reasonable to me.
I mean,
but he doesn't want to make an... Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say that makes some sense, and that is plausible. I guess for me, the thing that I get stuck on is, like, why then also bother with all of the other sort of like, it's one thing to buy up a number of assets and an amount of intellectual property and say, like, I'm going to try to take this, I'm going to try to open source this, I'm going to try to, like, do something and make sure that this is preserved for the historical record. Because I know, one of the things that happened is, and you were telling me about this, is that it turns out that, like, there were a bunch of documents from Deeproot that only lived in the cloud, and they stopped paying for their cloud storage bill. And then, so boom, just that stuff gone, just like that.
Holy shit.
And so for the historical record, it makes sense to want to save all that stuff. Yeah. And it may even make sense to want to start a new company. But why then would you also, like, buy up these insurance policies and stuff like that? That feels weird to me.
Well, that's where the money is. That's like the core of what all of this is.
Sure.
So, like, that's...
Yeah, so that's one of the things I can kind of, like Brian was saying. Now, by the way, so it's kind of like spoiled or whatever. At first I was going to say, here's what Turner said publicly. So I'll just share that.
Sure.
I had reached out after the Deeproot Pinball website said something interesting coming months ago.
Yeah.
And I wrote to Chris Turner. I never reached out to him or anyone. And I said, hey, has this got something to do with you? Like, I don't know if you know, but like, I'm interested in this and it'd be great to talk. And he responded pretty quickly. And he said, oh, I'm not comfortable like speaking to this or whatever. Also, who are you? Like, not who are you, but like, why would I share this information with you or something like that, which is reasonable. Because I'm sure I cost this guy money by virtue of my stuff leading to the extra court hearings and stuff when I was saying, look at this. But I think, and something I'll say about Chris is like, never once did I sense any animus that I cost him like however many billable hours extra lawsuit stuff, because it was reasonable what I was doing. I was like, they use their the same headquarters as Deeproot. So he said, I'm not really interested, but I'd be open to talking to you maybe later. Once the problem was solved and then it became the new countdown, I wrote back, so that was like 9 weeks later. I said, oh, hey, I saw that, like anything else? And so he said, oh, maybe I'll talk to you. And we had a call the week before all this was revealed. I talked to him for 2.5 hours.
Oh, wow.
And I never met, I never met this guy before.
Okay.
And
so what was your read on him?
Oh, yeah, exactly. He is the opposite of Robert Mueller, which, regardless of if he can make a successful pinball company, is great to me. Because one of the reasons I got into this is because, Robert's a person, so I don't want to like be too mean or whatever, but like most of things about him are things I don't like in people. Yeah. He was like a braggart. He talks shit about everybody. He like makes promises he can't, keep. He like allegedly defrauded lots of people.
Right. Yeah.
He wasted all this like opportunity, blah, blah, blah. So Chris Turner, and he's like braggadocious and all this stuff. So Chris Turner is, if he's acting, he's a very good actor, and he's like a sociopath, because he is like, somebody described it as like Mr. Rogers' voice in the video, but he's very calm and seemingly genuine and earnest, and he is not saying the stuff Robert did. He explained to me, he's like, look, I want to like explore this, but if it doesn't make financial sense after exploring it, then I won't do it. I'm going to make the most pinball machines there have ever been or something. Right. And I worked a long time on this, and it became special to me, and I think it's a tragedy that nothing ever comes of it. And I have different business ventures, and I'm very interested in making things, and I think it would be really neat, because I have lots of ideas. I've been working on it for 4 years to try to do it. And without saying it, because that's the thing, he will not talk shit about Robert or anything else. He's the kind of like a contractor, like the way you're supposed to be. Obviously, Robert has to be like one of the worst clients there ever is. I mean,
oh God, yeah.
Charge most people, but he doesn't want to air out dirty laundry, which I respect. So basically, all these things add up. And then he's talking about, I don't want to make Raza. What I wanted to do is get it and release it under a non-commercial license, because I know there are still people interested in homebrewing it, and then they could do that. I want it to be non-commercial, so somebody doesn't take all this work and start, scamming or selling people or like that. So all these things added up to me is like, all right, I kind of like this guy. Yeah. And the reason why he's so connected to Deeproot, and why, even though I think he wanted to talk to me too, because maybe I could give him some insights on like how the pinball community would receive him. Yeah. And I tried to communicate that it's like badly.
Yeah.
Because everyone thinks you're the new villain or something.
Well, and I think to be fair,
how you frame stuff.
Yeah, to be fair, like all of that stuff with like we're gonna go through it was like basically another 9 days of Deeproot or something like that. Like it's just stirring up memories of the most annoying marketing strategies in the history of time.
Well, that's the thing. Like, some people were into it, but the good news is, like, I don't know that the whole world. I think Pinside Thread paid attention to this, but most people didn't. But I will admit that lots of people were like, F this guy, go away. We don't want to hear about you. You don't want to bring it, because he actually wants to interact with the public and the community and learn from them and stuff. And I was kind of like, that's cool, but you want to kind of balance, like, I want to learn what you all are interested in, versus I actually have some concepts myself, and it's not just like, let's crowdsource what I should do with a pinball company, because it'd be like, why are you doing this or whatever.
So how does the insurance policy fit into that?
Oh, well, that's the thing. He hasn't responded to that because he did a follow-up video. Okay. And this was, maybe he would have done anyway, but I'll just say it was my recommendation that in the thread, there were lots of things where it's like, he's in cahoots with Robert. Right. He's going to get J-Pop involved. He's trying to sell Raza, all this kind of stuff. And I knew from our conversation, at least for him, is not the case. So I was like, it would be good to kind of answer some of the major questions that people are saying. And again, this is just based on, I don't know it. I'm not going to go buy a Turner pinball. I only own one pinball machine ever.
Which one?
I'm not anti this guy, Godzilla.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I know some people are be like, oh, pro or whatever, but like, I'm not Robert Mueller, all right? So, anyway, so this guy is like, I want to explore this thing. I have a talented team. We're not going to dedicate our whole lives to this. We're going to get into it. It's not going to be quick. I don't know when I possibly might have a machine. And some people are like, well, just contract it to American. Actually, I suggested that too. I'm like, manufacturing is hard. Why do that? He goes, well, I'm not doing this because I want to just make money, though he does want to treat it as a business. And how can I make money in pinball? It's because he's into the idea of making games. So,
Sure.
like, yeah, you could just hire other people to do it, but then, like, whatever. Then why do it if what you want to do it because you're into creating with pinball?
Yeah, I guess that, to be honest, though, on some level, that also scares me a bit because, like, you know, Brian and I come from a theater background, and the sheer Brian can tell you some absolute horror stories about very creative people who weren't able to get the thing made, or to the extent that they were able to get it made, it got up on its feet and it was a shit show, you know? So that's, what do you say to sort of that, I guess, criticism or potential line of criticism?
Maybe he'll fail, you know? Like, whatever. The thing I'm trying to communicate, at least from my perspective, is it's weird that he's the perceived villain, where every other person other than Robert and J-Pop involved in Deeproot is seen as a victim. They're like, oh, it sucks what happened to them. They were there for years at this company. It was a disaster. This guy was there for years at the company, and he views it as like, this is a tragedy. We could have made something. We spent years working on this. So I don't know why this guy, I mean, I get why, because the mystery around like whatever and the insurance policies or something. But just from the perspective of this guy wants to figure out if he could do something in pinball. Like he said in the video, if you don't want to hear from me until I have something, don't subscribe to his YouTube channel. It's not like it's got tons of subscribers or whatever.
Sure.
But like, that's the thing. If you're not interested in participating in a conversation with him, and I was doing finger quotes there, then you don't have to. So like, yeah, maybe he won't succeed, but at least this guy is like, doesn't seem like a shitbag, doesn't talk bad about people who, that's all we do is talk bad about these people. Like, is respectful of realizing that Deeproot was a disaster, but maybe he only knows pinball since Deeproot, right? And so I think that's the problem with some of the, how he would be, he's kind of surprised at how anti the community is. And I'm like, you don't know, go listen to the worst of all possible worlds, Deeproot Volume 1 from Zidware. This is a decade of J-pop stuff, right? So that's why I wanted to, like, I'm not trying to be like, Chris Turner's the be-all, end-all, but I'm like, I'm glad if this is a guy who actually wants to, like, you know, responsibly investigate this stuff, to, like, offer some perspective to it. And I don't have a reason to, like, hate this guy or whatever. He seems very likable and interesting, you know, honestly.
So, Brian, I'm curious to hear, you know, because you come at this from very much the outside perspective. What are your thoughts on all this?
I mean, I was just thinking about the Zidware stuff.
Yeah.
They did eventually ship some...
Sure.
They did eventually ship some machines, right? So,
well, Zidware themselves...
Right, not Zidware, right? But like the sort of the I mean, it kind of sounds like a similar situation, right? Someone came in and kind of rescued it, and then
American Pinball in that case was able to get it done.
But no, like, just to correct the record, like, this was to comply with probably trying not to get, and John Papaduke was brought into personal bankruptcy. They shipped machines that didn't work. They shipped machines that were like the flipper buttons.
I know.
Where they were
But like, that's kind of what this sounds like it's going to be. It's going to be like, well, they're going to ship a couple of things and they're not going to work great, and it's going to move on, right? But who knows? I mean, so this is all very much up in the air. But and in this case, there's also more games that are in progress, right? There's like more than one property
explicitly, he doesn't want to make Raza, and he is not necessarily, he actually isn't like mostly interested in doing Deeproot games whatsoever. Because he bought lots of the playfields, like, that were designed by some luminary pinball, you know, people. He's like, well, maybe we would use elements of that. But, like, no, the plan isn't, I'm going to make Deeproot games. Explicitly, that's not the plan. He just didn't say, there's no way that, because maybe you make Food Chart or something, but that's not the objective of doing it. He wants the software and the stuff that he was worked on, but to make Turner pinball games, but I don't know, years from now.
Sure. So in terms of Raza then and the status of that game, the idea there, at least according to him, is that he wants to get as much of that IP as possible for the sake of the historical record. He wants to open source the project and then just like, you know, out of his hands at that point. If somebody wants to go for it, good. That's basically the idea there.
Well, I don't know open source, but one of those licenses, but non-commercial.
Right.
Like, release the assets, because stuff he told me was like, you mentioned, by the way, and that was the thing.
Yeah.
The deletion of the actual like design files
Right.
or whatever. This is nuts.
Right.
They're just gone. Like almost all, and that's why he bought the physical assets.
Yeah.
Because almost all of the actual design stuff is gone. So if anyone, and there are people on the Pinside thread who are buying the schematics and they want to make their own stuff. If you want to have like any chance of doing it, preserve what you can. But that is his objective to release it. He doesn't want to make Raza. Per him, he's never going to make Raza. And he's also like, I guess, investing time and money in it and then going like, oh, and everyone hates me or whatever. But regardless, I told him, do what you want to do because like that's what you want to do, not because of how people react to it.
Is there much of a homebrew scene?
Oh, what's that, sir?
Is there much of a homebrew scene in the
Oh,
pinball
in
world?
pinball, 100%.
Okay. So people, other projects have done this where the software has...
Well, homebrew is usually like you come up with your own deal. That's why this might be a little special, where it's like, but there are people who went to the auction and bought every single thing they could about Deeproot, and then I talk to them and they go, I'm getting together the parts. There's different people who have different elements. We're going to try to figure out how we can like it for whatever reason, for good or bad.
Yeah.
Right.
There are people who still want to make this stupid, bad game that's been in development since 2011.
But it's our stupid bad game, God damn it.
That's right, Brian.
No, exactly. They can do what they want, but like for whatever reason, some people don't want to give up the goat. And so to me, it's like if Turner's willing to like give the assets out, then great. I wouldn't spend time on making this. I think the game sucks to begin. I mean, whatever. It's not the worst, but like retro atomic zombie, like why would anyone want that to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, the theme alone is just a mess. That's too many things in one theme. You got robots, you got atoms, you got zombies, and you've got adventure.
Land. So it's like a theme park.
Yeah.
And none of that shows up anywhere in any of the pictures of anything I've seen.
No.
So.
Well, that's all, you know, I guess another question that I have based on all this then is, I don't know. Let's say, just for the sake of for the sake of raising. Why is my brain not working right
awareness?
now? Raising awareness. Playing the counterpoint, right? Devil's advocate. What do you think is like? And this, I'm just going to ask you to speculate, right? If to the extent that you're willing. What do you think is like the best case scenario here, and what do you think is the worst case scenario here?
For what?
Just for Turner? Just for Turner and like where all of this is now. Like when we look forward to the future of, to the extent that we can get anything out of Deeproot now, right? Because like this has been an ongoing saga, like you said. There have been so many moving pieces, and this all has to land somewhere. What do you think are sort of the boundaries for where it could end up landing, and where ultimately do you think it's going to end up, based on the research that you've done?
Oh Lord, I mean, like when you say like the best case word, then I could just have a flippant answer or whatever. You know, shoes that will drop or have to. Is Robert going to end up in jail? I don't know. That might take years. That's an interesting one. You know, what's going to go on? This guy in the filings, I don't even know how he's still operating because he had to like petition for an allowance because he didn't have any income, and that ran out I think in February. So I don't even know what he's doing. Well, because they froze all of his accounts. And
right.
Look, he's in bad space. Like, this guy did a lot of shitty things, but it's gotta suck, especially when you have so much tied up in your identity of like, I'm a big shot, and then this happens, you know? Like, so I feel for the guy, even though lots of alleged bad things. Turner, well, whatever. The best case, it becomes the biggest new pinball company ever. What, I don't know. I mean, that's like the worst case is it crashes and burns. But I would be interested in seeing what he does, but I don't think he's anything imminent is coming. And maybe I'll talk to him after this and see like, oh, what do you think that I say about that?
Yeah.
But I think it would be great if there's a guy who, and I won't go into, you know, like the bona fides or whatever. He hasn't done like pinball manufacture, but he seems like kind of a capable guy. And the thing is, you don't have to be a super genius to like be better than Robert. Now we see lots of other crazy companies that are, you know, terrible, but like Could he make some kind of pinball thing in some years? I think so. But, like, it's hard, right? We know that. So it'll be interesting to find out.
Actually, it's easy. I was told that by a very wise man once.
And then other pinball companies, look, they'll never stop with these kind of like silly ones. Like, it's the only threads I'm in on pinball, Pinside. If you look at Ballarama, if you look at Pinball Adventures, aka like Punny Factory and their 15 other titles, even this like homebrew one, shout out to Great Witch John from Halifax, who I want nothing but the best for this guy who's trying to make trailer trash pinball like in 6 months, and it was supposed to be Trailer Park Boys, and it's being funded by Iceman, who's in Detroit. It's just like this will keep happening.
Right.
But what I recommended to Chris is like, he's in San Antonio. You know who else is like by there? Like Multimorphic. You know who's a guy who's like a maker and who actually like did it the right way of actual innovation, unlike Deeproot, and actually making product? It's Jerry. I'm like, talk to Jerry and see like what advice it is, or talk to Charlie from Spooky, or talk to people who did it the right way of being a small company that did something, rather than what Robert did was alienate the entire pinball industry and tell them they're terrible or whatever. So I don't know, I'm not a pinball insider, but I think there are folks who would share knowledge and don't view it as like cutthroat existential threat. Like, I can't like help you figure out this the right way if you're actually like a quality person. And I don't know, Turner strikes me well. Even if he, like, people make fun of his, like, the hair on his arms and, like, the way he talks and the plant in the background of his video or whatever, you know, whatever. I don't focus on that so much. I'm interested to see what happens. But, yeah, this is not my, like, he's going to be the next, whatever, he's not going to be the next Robert. But will he be the next Charlie Emery? No idea.
That is a reference that is, I think, lost on both of us. I don't think either of us are quite enough into the lore for that one.
Spooky Pinball's creator.
Oh, yeah. They've done quite well. So, yeah, Brian, did you have any, like, I feel like this is a really nice place for us to land. Did you have any other big pieces that you wanted to talk about before we wrap up here?
That's explored everything that I could have had any questions about.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I guess then...
I was just going to say, because I might be done with Blueberry Johnson.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask, like, what is next for the infamous Blueberry Johnson,
the doctor himself,
the Pinside gadfly that we know and love so well?
Yeah. Well, the doctor, again, as I mentioned, is only because when Blueberry Johnson was already claimed as a username on other things, so I had to throw in a doctor.
That's a good credential to have. Yeah, why not?
Oh, 100%. But, look, this is weird. This whole shit's weird. I never meant to get involved in this stuff, and I don't want to be, there's people who want to dox me. Is why we don't put my video on this, because I don't know why. They're like, who's this guy? The reason I got into the Deeproot stuff initially is because these people, like, at the company were like, we want to speak the truth about what's going on, but we don't have a means to do it.
Yeah.
That doesn't really exist anymore. We know most of the story. I mean, there is more, and there's other stuff I know, but I'm not going to share or whatever, but we kind of know enough about what happened there. And other people can read Pacer, which is where you see, like, court filings and stuff. I don't need to. I'd like to probably get out of the Deeproot game.
Sure.
And, like, maybe the next time there's a New York City Pinball Championship, that they'll be like, I can go and put on the, because, Levy said I could come out, and I'm like, well, one, I hope you all don't get COVID. But, like, I'm not so ready for that. But, like, put on the red jacket and, like, commentate. Because I don't want to be this Blueberry guy.
I feel that, man.
Even though I like the afro and stuff. So what's next? I don't know. This might be the end of my, like, big, like, reveals, because it doesn't need to happen anymore. But if it is, I wanted to shout out a few bullet point exclusives for the worst of all possible. Like, a few other tidbits. That
you hear that, tournament area? These are some exclusives from Blueberry Johnson with regard to Deeproot Pinball. Like, two people looked over here. Yeah, quivering in anticipation.
I can't see what's going on. Okay, so just a few little items in case it is. So we all know Robert wanted to make like 20 different games, and we've seen all the titles, and they were the ones that were announced, and then we found out about other ones like the Lucha Libre game and stuff. So one other title that's never been publicly disclosed, which I saw, is Men in Black Alien Crisis.
What?
Okay.
Right, I didn't know what that was either, but I Googled it, and I know what Men in Black is, the movie, but this was like a video game.
Yeah, Will Smith, it's a classic,
I don't know if...
Tommy Lee
But
Jones,
this game was a video game, specifically the Alien Crisis. I don't know what it was, but I sent you some images if you posted or something of like they had done like pre-pro like art promotion stuff for it.
Yes.
Did they have the license? What was it going to be? I got no idea.
Tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can
another.
grab that and put it up on the big screen real quick. The imagery about
Here
that.
come the Men in Black.
Here they come. The Galaxy Defenders. Is that the line? What's the line? Here comes the Men in
Bienvenido a
Black.
Miami, I think.
Yeah, I'll pull that up. What else?
Okay. What else? Well, there was the misconception that the games that Chris Turner bought at Deeproot auction have been stripped, that the computers have been removed, that Raza didn't work. There wasn't actually a computer in there, and they do work. And so he got it running. So Raza is running. Not just that, put in
So
the
it's
Jamaican
not
air
just
horn or
it's not
whatever.
just a box of bulbs. It's like there's actually something there.
Oh yeah, you can play it, and this is Jamaican air horn if you do post. Food truck runs too. So food truck is the game that was going to come after Raza, and through almost like meme culture thing, where initially it's like food truck, that's like the dumbest theme I've ever heard of, ever lampooned. Eventually, the narrative shifted to be like, wow, I'm really excited about food truck. And it was designed by Barry Ausler. Rest in peace, who unfortunately passed. And but like people were interested in it, and when I talked to Deeproot people, that was one of the games that like they thought was like actually interesting, good design. The software wasn't as far along as Raza, but I think Chris told me it was like more than 50%. It flips, it has modes and stuff, and it has a lot of the very expensive Utah-produced animation.
Oh, that's interesting.
Honestly incredible. Yeah. So what happens with food truck? I don't know, but that game actually was further along than people realized, and Chris Turner has it up and running.
Interesting. Anything else?
Yeah. There's probably other things, but those are the good ones. I noted in case we didn't.
I did want to just pull this up, this image, because it's just so funny to me. And this is the image that has a guy, and he's playing pinball, and this was, I think, on a whiteboard in Deeproot HQ here. This man is playing, and he's got his hair is like really like whoo, it's like whooshed back, and the pinball machine is going ping, ding, 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 and he's saying raw. And anti-Stern, I guess.
This guy looks like Johnny Five Aces.
If anybody here is something awful goon, you will remember that one.
The pinball machine has just the Grim Reaper and flames on it.
It's very cool. Yeah, I mean, it's good to know that, like, in spite of it all, the pinball bug lives on, I guess, but it's a double-edged sword too, right? Like,
it's a double-edged bug.
It is a double-edged bug. It holds a lot of potential, but at the same time, a lot of people have made a lot of really, really stupid decisions as a result of this hobby, and probably will continue to. Was there anything else that you wanted to add, to plug, just to say in general before we're done here?
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. It's like you can avoid as a customer not getting screwed over by just not sending your money to companies that haven't put out games. Even companies that have, if you don't want to be stressed about that, just please don't.
Yes.
And then you could just follow along for the adventure.
Yeah.
And if you're, want to get into the industry, do your due diligence about who's hiring you and such. Not that I'm literally not blaming the folks, because this guy was offering great salaries initially or whatever. But I do talk to some people also that were there from the beginning and then decided to get out because they go, none of this makes sense.
Yeah.
We're changing everything every day. This isn't working. But, I got lots of love for everybody who was negatively impacted by this whole Deeproot thing. And hopefully, because of podcasts like this, people can learn some lessons, and maybe the next disaster will be less disastrous.
That's certainly what we hope for.
So don't put your money into speculative pinball investments. Put it into the worst of all possible worlds.
That's right.
Patreon.com/worstofall.
For only $5 a month at patreon.com/worstofall, you too can be one of our patrons. A mere $5 a month gets you access to bonus episodes and all sorts of other cool stuff. And if you sign up and send us proof that you signed up because of this thing or whatever, guess what? We'll send you one of those shirts.
Yes.
Well, if you can meet up with us. If we have to ship, if we actually have to ship it to you, it's going to be $10. You have to sign up at the $10 tier. But if you're here and you want one of those shirts, or you're around, sign up to Patreon. We'll get you one of those T-shirts.
Hand you a shirt,
Deeproot Pinball. They're mostly size medium. Well, Blueberry Johnson, thank you so much for coming on the show, gracing us with your presence. This has been a ton of fun, and yeah, that's really. Any final closing thoughts, closing words, last wisdoms?
No, no, I don't have too many of those, but yeah, thanks guys. It was fun. I hope everybody there rocks out. I love watching whatever the acronym is for this show, and I'm serious about that. So I'm gonna go tune in right after this.
Nice.
Hell yeah, man.
See ya.
Okay.
All right. Well,
I have a last statement.
Please do.
So, the dream of Deeproot Pinball may be dead, but as we know, if you're buying up people's life insurance policies, death can be a boon for your business. And we aren't buying up life insurance policies, but maybe we did get that Deeproot crematorium in the form of content. And that is truly the greatest prize of all. I'm the worst of all possible Brians.
And I'm the worst of all possible Joshes.
Have a blessed evening.
Bye.
Okay, but stop with that. Thank you.
So many possibilities.